Hey all, I'm Jackie, and this is Michelle, my wonderful co-host, and welcome to Dating Games V2. Whether you're newly single, divorced, or simply waking up to the possibility of love again, you're in the right place. Because yeah, Dating Games, we believe it's not about him, it's about you.
So today we're talking about a topic that I think pretty much everyone can relate to. Yep, those Toms, those Dicks, and those Harrys we once loved, we tolerated, and barely survived in some cases. We've all had one. These are your exes. And while it's tempting to block them, delete them, or narrate your story in a way where you are still angry, you're a victim of what happened, what's been done to you, today we want to offer you something, maybe another way of looking at things.
A gracious thank you. Thank you for the lessons and thank you for the final push. Because the truth is, when you can say thank you to your ex, you stop being tied to the past and you have the power to own your own future. Before this podcast recording, we both did a little reflection of our own, and there were two big personal takeaways that stood out for both of us from our own experiences.
Yeah, I think, the thing that stuck out with me from a very early stage of my, even the therapy that I did, was
Mm,
this idea of co-creation. And co-creation means that basically there were two people, at least, in your
yeah.
relationship, and you were
Hopefully.
definitely one of them. So
Mm,
whether he was an absolute jerk,
yeah,
or abusive, or really horrific, or whether it's just that you didn't find a way to build a relationship, in whatever
mm,
case, you were there. Either
yeah,
you said something and he responded, which caused you to respond back, or he acted this way and you always reacted in a particular way. This is just a normal part of relationships. You co-create
yeah,
them. It's not one person. And so if you can acknowledge that you were there, that you were part of what didn't work, then you can acknowledge that mistakes were made. Possibly you made some
yeah.
mistakes, and you can own the mistakes you made. And
Mm,
then it takes you out of that sense of like victimhood. It's not, he did
yes.
this to me. It's, he did some stuff. I did some stuff
Mm,
and it didn't work. And I resolve to not do that again. But in any
yeah.
case, I was there, we did it together, and I am no longer a victim.
Yeah. Michelle, this is interesting because we've spoken about it many times. And one of the questions I keep popping up is the understanding of co-creation intellectually, but how do you then move forward from there? Because it is a
Mm.
big pill to swallow. How did you move forward from there to not being the victim, but really releasing yourself and saying, right, I was a part of this. I did create and I had ownership and I need to be held accountable in some way or the other. But now it's time to move on. How did you do that?
Well, I think it's still a work in progress, shall I say?
Yeah.
Because I haven't technically been back in another relationship, right? And I think that most of us, not in a long-term one in any case, most of us have these things where like, I'm never going to do that again, or I'm never going to accept that again. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of the process to move forward, is to identify the things that you did or that you accepted or that you
Mm,
allowed, and be on, be kind of on the lookout for them, not in a crazy sort of maniacal way, but be aware of
yep.
them.
Yeah.
um, and I think that if you can start to do that again, it's just this sense that I own this.
Mm,
And I don't know. I mean, I guess I just every day I think, no, I can't blame them. I was there. I chose my
yes.
response. I chose my reaction. And
Yes.
frankly, in
Yeah.
my case, you know, uh, well, for 30 years, I thought it was going great or mostly great. Right. And so it was a big shock to me. But
Yeah.
at the moment that he announced that he was not happy and wanted a separation,
Mm,
I totally blamed myself, to be honest. I totally went into, oh yeah, I can see how, some of the things that I said or I did weren't great. It
yeah.
took me a little longer to kind of see his side of the co-creation and why I might have
Mm,
acted that way. So I'm a bit of an intellectualizer, so I do think about it a lot.
yes,
But
I
I
know.
think seeing both sides of it, that we both did stuff that was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess part of that is being able to learn from the experience as well, right? So for me, I can easily say that part of the co-creation was and this happens to many women. We dim ourselves down. We dim ourselves
Mhm.
down. We compromise ourselves for the family, for in order to keep the peace. And it's one of those expressions that I absolutely despise when people say it. Please keep the peace. But I'm always asking myself, well, whose peace am I really keeping? Because I don't feel
Yeah.
like and that's really an interesting part of the co-creation. But moving forward, the other thing was the courage. and where I didn't have the
Yes.
courage to pull the plug and I didn't have the courage to say, we've got to make a change, we've got to do something. Now looking back, I'm grateful that my ex did. And at that point, I wasn't emotionally ready. I didn't have the guts, the oomph, the 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 desire. I personally wanted to stay in that cocoon. So I was really
Well,
grateful.
I
Yeah,
think you were holding that space, right? I mean, you felt you had built so much, and the idea of tearing it apart would have been almost impossible for you, whereas he maybe not so
absolutely.
much.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a choice that forced me to grow.
Mm,
And now looking back, I can say thank you. And just fast forwarding, I remember my God, there were so many days that I thought, can I just be Bridget Jones and get under the covers and have a bottle of vodka and Netflix something for the whole day? But at some point, the pain does
it's not
leave you.
forever.
Yeah, the pain does leave you, and you do remove the F of sign from your forehead, which is exactly what I did. And that's when the real healing begins. That's when you can actually honestly and truly saying thank you. But the thank you is not to excuse what happened. And it's definitely not to rewrite the past.
Mm-mm.
It's aiming your future and your power and moving forward. And saying thank you doesn't need to be an email to him or a conversation with him. It doesn't need to be said out loud. It can be written in your journal. It can be a little whisper to the universe. It can be a prayer for those who believe in prayer. Because really, the thank you is not about him, it is about you. And it's about thanking your ex because he gave you the permission and he released you. He allowed you to rebuild yourself and to reimagine what life could be like. For myself personally, I'm one that enjoys moving forward and the possibilities of life when you remove those dark glasses and the F of sign. There's so many. And for me, there wasn't absolute closure. It was a case of I'm splitting up with you and that's it. And I had so many unanswered questions, as I know you did as well.
Yeah.
And part of that is simply saying, right, these questions may not always be answered, but I can answer the questions that lie within me. And so I was able to close the door and say, right, I'm closing that chapter of my life, but it is a chapter. And now I'm moving forward.
So do you think, and some people might equate a thank you to either gratitude or forgiveness. Do you think that you need one or the other to say thank you?
I think it is possible to be thankful and not forgive completely.
Mm.
I don't want to be personal about life because I would never want to belittle or berate my ex, but the thankfulness came from the release. The thankfulness came from the ability to pull the plug and say, "Do you know what? I'm done. Let's press the
Mm,
eject seat.
mm,
There's no
yeah.
longer benefit." The
And
forgiveness, that takes a bit longer. And I'm speaking about my case specifically, whereby, and there are other women as well, whereby things have happened to them which really probably should not be forgiven when we look at it. But it takes its time. And so the two can run parallel. The one does not depend on the other. What do you think?
yeah, I think kind of to your point, I'm also a person, maybe we both are. One of the great reasons we're friends is that we both are looking at the possibility of growth
Yes.
out of this moment of trauma, really. And
Yes.
so in a sense, you're grateful that you have this opportunity. You're not necessarily grateful for the package it came in.
Of
Um,
course.
and and so there's a bit of that. And then similarly with
Mm,
forgiveness, I think for me, I can, and I have from the beginning, I forgave my ex the feelings. I mean, the feelings are his. And if he felt that
yeah.
way, there's no right or wrong in that. And I totally forgave him that immediately. And in fact, I was never angry with him. What
Mm,
I was harder and is still harder to forgive is the lack of communication about the
yeah.
questions that were in his mind. And the
Mm,
fact that he would not come to me and say, I have questions, I have concerns, I'm feeling this
mm,
way. On the
mm.
other hand, he was very courageous in saying, this isn't working and we're done.
Yes,
The
exactly.
courage didn't come, in my opinion, when it needed to, but eventually it came.
Absolutely. And there you have zero control over that, right? You have zero control over his
Yeah.
thoughts, over his actions. You can only control yours. And I guess that's why saying thank you is so important because it really doesn't depend upon him anymore. It depends upon you and it depends upon your choice to move forward and your choice to see the possibilities of life.
Mm.
And if that's
So
why,
So
mm,
what do you think this means? I mean, in a way, if we think about, what will happen if you can manage to say thank you, right? If you can say
mm,
thank you, if you can, even in a small voice, even in your journal, it gives you this freedom from the emotional baggage that's been weighing you down. Maybe it's the
Mm.
baggage that of the things he said, the things he did, um, that your own regret or feelings of guilt about yourself and what you could have done better, should have done better.
Yeah.
And you stop really, I mean, I still want to know, but I mostly have stopped asking the questions.
Yeah.
Why? How? When? And through that, you become lighter, you become clearer, you become more
Mm.
radiant in who you are. And
Oh
that
gosh.
radiance, that sort of magnetism that is apparent to everyone around you when you've let go of this hurt or blame to some extent, you become a different person.
Absolutely. And then you start shifting your focus, right? And that's really important. And as you were talking, I was thinking about how you create more space for yourself and less space for
Mm,
instead of asking yourself, why did you do that to me? And we've been there.
mm,
I've asked myself this question many times. You start asking, what do I want next? What can I do next? And I heard this
mm.
super analogy, which I want to read to everybody because it really stuck with me. And it says that being hurt by someone is like being bitten by a snake. And instead of trying to find help to heal yourself and recover from the poison, you try to catch the snake to find out the reason it bit you, to prove that you deserve that. So thanking your ex is like choosing to treat the wound and it's choosing yourself. It's choosing to move forward. It's choosing to move on. It's choosing to see the possibilities of life once again and to be kind and good to yourself because life wants that for you as well, right?
And it gives you this chance to embrace, right? Embrace this new chapter. I mean, it's part of
Mm.
why, well, it's a big reason why Jackie and I are both here. We are
Yeah.
embracing a new chapter. No longer are we just, are we sort of the ex-wife? Our role isn't just ex-wife or fixer or emotional caretaker. Of course, we'll always
Mm.
be mothers, right? But the ones related to that relationship specifically, you get to shed those roles. And now
Yep.
you get to ask maybe an even bigger question in some ways. Who do I want to become now?
Mm.
What do I want to happen in the future? And when your life is laid out ahead of you and you see all the milestones so clearly, in a way it's easy. And now we have this kind of exciting but also challenging moment to design our own life, to design our next relationships, our next love that reflects, who we are now, who we've become, and
Yeah.
not an entirely a product of that past. And that's
Mm.
why dating is so exciting because it gives you
Exactly.
that opportunity. This is the
Yes.
time, this is the vehicle to build the confidence, discover who you are, figure out your boundaries, understand which
Mm.
values are most important to you, and to feel
Mm.
alive, to feel desired, to feel
Oh, yes.
feminine, excited, all the great
Mm.
stuff.
Mm. It's so incredibly exciting. I'm giggling thinking about it. Honest, it's one of those things. And look at ourselves in particular, right? So married for 17 years, yourself 30 years. And, we've never had, things have changed massively over that time. And you get to rediscover who you are, like you
Yeah.
said, who you would like to become. And when you say thank you, you create that emotional space because you're getting rid of the clutter. It's like clearing the closet, getting rid of the old, replacing it with a new. You make space for invitation and connection and joy and frivolity. You discover parts of yourself that either you've dimmed down or you'd like to amplify or just new parts that you'd like to create. And so dating allows you the opportunity to use this as a platform, whether you date romantically, whether it's just to make friends, but some always arrives when you've cleared the space, and that's really
Yeah.
important. It's the physical space, the emotional space, the mental space. It just gives you a fresh perspective on life and yourself in particular. So today's episode has really, really been about thank you, moving on, moving forward. And if this
Goodbye.
yes, and if this is an episode that sparks something in you, then do share it and share it with your friend or family member and help us create and grow our community of dating dames.
And if you're looking for guidance or more funny anecdotes, come find us on Facebook, Instagram at Dating Dames V2.
And until next time, keep embracing the adventure, trust your instincts, and remember above all, it's not about him, it's about you.